Welcome to the Wakey Bakey podcast.
Beside the candlelight, a place they read satanic rite. From deep dark depths the shapes appear. The beast they do shall someday fear. Sound severe, a modified ionosphere. Weather wars and Tesla gear. Cataclysmic cavalier. We've got our dreams, they've got their missiles. Human versions of doggy whistles. Brown note make you shit your pants. Put you in an ambulance. Another coal-fired power plant. Tornadoes twist Los Angeles. Bullets buzz by like a swarm of hornets. These are the days of destruction and torment. Don't listen to me, but I think it's important. These are the days of destruction and torment. Bullets buzz by like a swarm of hornets. These are the days of destruction and torment. Don't listen to me, but I think it's important. These are the days of destruction and torment. These are the days of destruction and torment. These are the days of destruction and torment.
We're back here at Champs again, and this is the last day we're here, and I've got another amazing, great guest. I'm really excited about having you on. I came back today just for you and Chad. Seriously, I'm not even bullshitting. There's nobody else that I'm doing. I'm packing up after this. It was worth it. It was well worth it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself real quick.
You didn't want to risk mispronouncing my name?
I will completely fuck your name up. I'm not even going to lie about that.
It's all good. It's all good. Hey, guys, I'm Avens O'Brien, and I'm representing Advanced Mycology and our SHRUM kit today.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to tell us all about this.
Yeah. Where do you want me to
Let's start off with how long have you been doing this? How long have you been involved in this?
So,
by that, I mean starting from when was your first psychedelic trip?
Oh, my first psychedelic trip.
I want to go back a little bit here.
Yeah, my first psychedelic trip was probably, I want to say 17 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
you've got a little experience under your belt.
2008, I believe.
Oh, nice.
2007. Summer 2007. I was at like a festival with a bunch of my friends who were all like Burning Man folk, but it was in upstate New York. And I tried acid, I tried shrooms, I tried Molly, like all in the same week. It was fantastic. It was a tremendously wonderful experience.
I was going to say, you probably had a wild time that week. Yes.
Oh, it was so good. It was at this like hippie festival in the middle of the woods and in like Western New York. Not even upstate New York. It was like Western New York, like 30 minutes from Erie, Pennsylvania. It was fantastic.
Wow,
yeah.
That sounds amazing. And that's the place where you want to do some stuff like that too.
Dude, it was so beautiful. And there was, like maybe 2,000 people out there camping and, drum circles and all that kind of.
It was the perfect vibe for it.
Oh, it was so nice. And it was like, I'm at the time, I'm, 19 years old.
Okay.
And I'm
so
just.
You're fresh and just experiencing everything.
Exactly. And I'm
that's
just like, I want to check this out. And so that's how I got into like psychedelics.
Cool.
And, and I actually, what's cool is my parents were kind of hippies, so they were really open about that. Like my dad talked about smoking pot, and my dad actually called me the year before I ever did my first psychedelics. My dad called me. He's like, I just went to Peru and I did ayahuasca, and I was like, Dad, that's so awesome.
Wow.
So I've always had like family who was like really open about drug legalization and the idea that they can be really healing and therapeutic and medicinal and fun. Like my parents weren't afraid to say, yeah, they're also fun, but they're also very healing.
That's nice. I mean, that's how I try to be with my kids. Give them the full all around.
Yeah.
You can make your own decisions.
Exactly.
Here's the pluses, here's the minuses, this is what we're looking at here.
Exactly.
That's all you can really do. I didn't get that whenever I was young. Hardcore Church of Christ Christian upraising. Oh my gosh, it was rough.
Oh.
Everything was the devil. It was all bad.
Oh.
And then when I was about 11, 12 years old, My mom watched a lot of daytime 80s talk shows.
Yeah.
And she had to be the martyr in church.
Oh, no.
So everything that she saw on TV that she could relate to me in any way, shape, or form, he's on drugs. He's on the drugs. She go to church and tell everybody, hey, he's worshiping the devil now. He's on the drugs. He's worshiping the devil.
Oh, no.
It's funny because I would walk down the little aisle to go to, because, you know, the youth group, you have to sit in front, the very front, be seen by all the rest of the church. As I would walk by, literally, you could hear the people talking shit.
Whoa.
Talking shit, and it's like, why do I gotta go?
Your mother's just selling you out.
Oh, she did completely. She did.
Hilarious.
At about 15, I was just like, okay, I'm not going to do this no more. You can't make me.
Right.
And that was it.
Right.
After that, the tables were turned.
I grew up in exactly the opposite environment.
See, and that's why, especially with what you've got over here, your trip sister.
Yep.
I want to talk about this real quick while we can.
Absolutely.
What do you got going on here with this?
So your trip sister, it actually
it first and then talk about it.
So yeah, it's on Instagram and TikTok. It's literally @your trip sister, and the whole concept of it I came about was, you know, we talk about trip sitting, right? Trip sitters are people who kind of walk you through your trip experience and are there for you. You know, if you need, there's trip sitters, there's guides, whatever. But the idea is that there's, you know, somebody there for you while you're having a trip experience.
Right.
And then I think about the first time that I ever did psychedelics. I was at this, you know, festival in New York. I was with my friends who were a little bit older than me, and all of them were giving me advice about how to do my drugs safely, right?
They knew what you were going to expect.
It felt like a bunch of like big sisters and big brothers telling me like, hey, don't worry, you're going to be fine. And so I was like, you know what? I don't want to, I can't necessarily, like, it's not really scalable to sit there and sit with people, but I want to be people's big sister if they're, you know, learning how to trip. So I decided to start up Your Trip Sister. And so the idea is it's going to be psychedelic education. I talk a lot about mushrooms because mushrooms are kind of my specialty, but, you know, mushrooms, LSD, MDMA, ketamine, I want to talk about all of it, ayahuasca, and say, hey, you know, if you're interested in doing these things, I want you to do them safely. You know, it's kind of that trip responsibly sort of thing.
Right.
I want to say, you know, you can take psychedelics for medicinal reasons. Yep. You can take them for therapeutic reasons. You can take them for recreational reasons. But I want to make sure that you take them intentionally.
Right.
I want to make sure that you take them in a way that's going to maximize your experience, whatever you're looking for.
Right.
And so that's what I've been starting to do, is talk about, hey, you know, if you have questions about dosage, if you have questions about how to, like, you know, recover from a, you know, Molly roll, or you know, what not to do when you're tripping, or, you know, how to tell if a friend's had too much. Like, these are so important, you know? And I got that. I had this environment around me. Sorry, I should smoke this, but I'm talking.
Feel free to take a hit real quick. Feel free to take a hit. We ain't gonna be mad at you. It's the Wakey Bakey. We expect it.
But it's funny because I had this fantastic group of people that told me how to be safe, and I want to make sure that everybody else has that experience. You know, it's about risk reduction. I don't like to say harm reduction, because it's not about harm. It's about risk. It's about the possibility that something could happen.
Maximizing your experience, not taking away from it, minimizing it.
That's pretty much my life philosophy. Maximize your experience.
And that's exactly right. I've lived that way myself. I'm 49 years old now. I've been a musician. I've done wild and crazy things. I'm still here. I'm still in one piece. There's a little bit of tatter starting to happen, but I mean, what are you going to do, right?
All the scars are internal.
Right. We got to go sometime. We might as well have a good time while we're doing it, you know? And that's been my philosophy on life. When I was young, it was really shitty. A lot of negativity, a lot of, they stick those vampire fangs of guilt into you. And then it was just like, you know what? You give this as much power as you want to give it. As much as your mind wants to allow it.
For sure.
And if you don't want to allow it to do that shit, well, guess what? You don't have to. And that right there, I was probably about 16 years old when I was just like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. I've lived so much easier and better.
That's good.
My family has, you know, you're ruining the reputation. I don't even care. That's on you guys. You guys are the ones worrying about this, not me. It doesn't matter. And, you know, over time, they kind of understand things a lot more than they did. But, you know, I'm from Texas. They're very conservative. They're very fucking closed-minded. I was in theater in college, and my theater instructor asked me, he goes, how the fuck did you grow up around all these people and you come out the way you did? It was the drugs. It wasn't just the drugs. It was the psychedelics. That's what made me way more open.
They really
I think.
do. I mean, even it's funny. I I grew up in this, you know, in a family that was very open. My parents had met Timothy Leary over the years. Like it was just like, it was really amazing. Like, my parents were very my parents are just very like pioneer
Jason
thinkers.
knows
They like to.
Timothy.
I say they really. My parents really like to be on the forefront of like ideological interests, right? So my parents were into psychedelics, and they knew who Timothy Leary was, and they went to like like salons and stuff where you got to meet like the thinkers of the 70s and 80s, and people just doing really cool stuff. There was a psychologist named Nathaniel Brandon who's basically the godfather of the self-esteem movement. My parents were really into this idea of like the self-esteem movement and like a liberation philosophy, libertarianism, that all this kind of like cross-cultural weird things, and then my parents had me and my brothers, gave us weird names, got us into like D&D. Like my parents were just like, let's like raise weird children and be on the forefront of exploring new ideas, and and it makes us
it'll preheat it.
Awesome.
The hits are amazing.
And make them as weird as possible. And I mean, I love it, but it's funny because I also had shit in my head when I was a teenager, and I took psychedelics, and I was like, I have a little mental block here, and I can work through it, and
recognize
and that's the thing, is you can find these mental blocks in yourself, and you can get through them.
You're very in touch with your body. You're very in tune with what's going on in your mind and your body. Not a lot of people are. A lot of people don't take the time to pay attention to such as that.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if psychedelics help in that as well.
I mean, I think honestly, it's like, you take a lot of psychedelics, they just kind of, you end up in these weird things where the neurons in your brain are all kind of intersecting, the filters are going away, and it's almost like you get this view of yourself at 30,000 feet, and you start kind of taking inventory a little bit. And so, depending on how your trip goes, you might end up taking a lot of inventory and going, hey, what are my issues? Where are my issues with authority? Where are my issues with my parents and my ancestry and my, my upbringing and my whatever else? And maybe it's an experience you had as a teenager that caused a problem, or bullies, or whatever, and you just you find your blocks, and you find where those pain points are, and you got to benefit exploring them, and so I think psychedelics is tremendously valuable for that.
Yes, it is, very much, and it's amazing because this is the question that everybody always asks me, because I've dabbled in growing off and on at different times. Sometimes just for fun, and then it turned into a thing where it was like, I saw some people in my life that had a lot of trauma and a lot of issues, and that shit helped them out.
For sure.
I don't know that they went into it with that intent,
right?
But that's the result that came out of it, and it was like, whoa, this is doing actually good. You're having a good time, but this is actually doing some good for you here. And that's ultimately what I want to do in life. I've always been a musician. I create things. I want people to be entertained by things, I want people to be happy. There's a lot of negative shit already in life.
It's true.
Why compound it and make even more?
Life is what you make it. Things do happen to you, and how you can't necessarily control. Like, you can control certain parts of your life to make less bad things happen to you, right? Like, to some degree, but you have to take ownership of your own life, and then it's like, from that point, it's like you're responsible for your happiness. The world doesn't owe you anything, and people sometimes think that that's kind of like like nihilistic or whatever. It's like, no, the world doesn't owe me anything. I have to make something of myself, and and responsible
I look at the world
for.
as a neutral thing.
Yeah. The universe is indifferent.
The negatives that happen. I mean, that being said, now obviously some people go through a lot of shit in life.
Yeah.
And they continually get that shit compounded upon them. That's crazy. I don't understand how that happens.
Yeah.
Life does have a negative approach in that way.
Yeah.
But for the most part, for all of us, life is neutral.
Right.
It's how we look at it. If you look at it in a negative light, you're going to have a negative experience. If you look at it in a positive light, you're going to have a positive experience, or a more positive experience, I would say. And
the only thing you can do in this world is control yourself, right? You can't control other people.
That's
people
true.
Try all the time. It's horrible.
Yes.
You can't control other people, so you can only control you. And so you have to deal with, the bad things that can happen. But at the end of the day, you have to go, all right, well, this is me. How am I going to react to this? How am I going to deal with this? And the choices that you make are what define you. It's not what happened to you, but how how you deal with the thing that happened to you. And hopefully it's lots of good things. And you know, I definitely know people who kind of manifest their own shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And but then
You
there's
can
lots
see
of
that.
people who you know, terrible things happen to them. You know, it's like, I'm so sorry that you know your house flooded or your horrible shit happened.
Things that are just beyond control.
But the more of us who take control over our own lives for the things that we can prevent, then the more that we have available resources to help those who get fucked by circumstance. You know what I mean?
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. That's a great philosophy.
It's like,
and a great way to look at things.
It's like build. It's weird to say this in kind of an entrepreneurial way, but like build capital, right, with the world. Build your own capital, your own value, your own excess of what you have, right? And you build as much of it as you can, and then you share it with those you care about. And you know, it's the same way as like, you know, building a company, making money, hopefully having enough profit that you can also invest in, you know, charities and philanthropy that you care about.
Right.
You know, it's like, I think the dream of every person who tries to be very rich isn't just to be able to buy yachts and big you know, houses, but also to be able to invest that in the things they care about, whether it's going to, you know, space or just wanting to, you know, or make affordable housing or you know, or help people, you know, with the getting people out of jail for nonviolent offenses like drugs.
Right.
And I bring it all back. See, look at that.
Nice. I love it. I love it. See, and that right there, when you have a business idea like that, that really makes a difference. Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about SHRUM.
Let's talk about this.
So SHRUM is so as I said, I got into doing psychedelics about what did I say? It was since 2007.
Yes,
So that 15 years, whatever it was. But about 3 years ago, I'd been interested in growing mushrooms, but about 3 years ago, I got like really actively interested. I'd been growing weed with some people. I'd been in the weed industry. I was learning about growing weed, and then I was interested in growing mushrooms. And then, you know, the pandemic happens, and I was like, I'm going to learn everything I can about this. My friends are learning how to make sourdough, and I'm like, I'm gonna get really good at growing mushrooms. And so I learned everything I could about it. And then, you know, so me and my partner, we got really, you know, interested in it and really engaged, you know, like, oh, let's try this kind of soil, and oh, we need this, and just everything, you know, going on online forums and just downloading all of this information and trying things out. And, you know, once I had a successful, I had a lot of failures because mushrooms is not like growing weed, you know.
No,
like you need the sterility, it needs to be so careful. And I was blown away, but I was also like, I'm a kind of nerd, and I just like kind of getting into things, and I'm very specific and detail oriented.
There's a lot of focus that comes with growing mushrooms.
It's true. And so yeah, I mean, learning all about it. And then last summer, basically, you know, it was like, I want to make this into something that other people can do.
Nice.
And this wasn't just me. This was my partner, Judd. He and I basically started developing this idea. Oh, shit. It's funny. The joint didn't make me cough, but...
The distillate will get you every time.
God, my fucking hell.
That's the lemon skunk right there. That's the skunky will get your ass.
I probably just pulled too hard too.
Welcome to the Wakey Bakey.
That's right.
We don't mind if you cough on here.
I know,
My
but
audience
I do.
loves it. My audience loves it. The harder you cough, the better.
You know, it's funny.
Coughed up a couple of lungs.
When I was younger, I wasn't sure why my dad coughed so much, and then I figured it out.
Nice.
But
Great revelation.
It's like, do you know that experience? Sorry, pausing for a second. You know that experience
We chase squirrels here.
Think about it. The second time you ever smoke weed. Not smoke weed, sorry. The second time you ever smell weed. What I mean by this is, as a child, you will have an experience where you'll, you know, the weird uncle at the party, or the family barbecue, or you know, or you passed the concert on your way to daycare, or whatever the fuck. You smell this thing and you don't know anything about that smell. You don't know what that is. You have no clue, right? And then you're a teenager, and your friend goes like, "Hey, want to try this weed?" And you smell it, and you're like, "Oh, I've smelled this before." But you don't know. You didn't know the first time. And then you're like, oh, that's why my mother didn't want me to hang out with my older cousin who like hung out behind the picnic table, behind the tree at the family picnic. You know, like it's that thing. It's you know, it's the second time you ever smell weed. And I remember when I was like, oh, that's my dad.
It was funny because for me, everybody always gave my grandmother's twin brother, he would be the great uncle, everybody always gave him shit. He lived in Oregon. all through the 70s and the 80s, right? Okay. He toured. He was a musician. He played pedal steel. He was an amazing fucking musician.
You're drawing me quite a picture here.
He toured up and down the coast. He played in all the honky tonks with the chicken wire up on the on the things. And he comes down and stays for a week, right? The whole family was kind of up in arms about this, and I didn't understand why, because this guy played music. I was really into music, so I looked up to him, you know? And he came down and he stayed. My grandparents weren't having it, you know, so he had to stay at our house.
Oh my gosh.
So there was this, it was a bunk bed type situation. There was like a bed that rolled out and would raise up. It had springs and everything, and then there was like the little shell, and there was another mattress on that. So he comes down, he's there for a week. He leaves, and I got my room back, you know, and I'm in there, and I'm fucking around, playing in my room, and he's got this leather bag. It's about like that. It's got some snaps on it. And I found it, and I'm like, oh, Uncle Tex forgot his bag here, you know? And just because, and he dipped. He had his chew, you know? But that wasn't his chew. So I pull this out and I open it up, and it's like, oh, this is some kind of, these leaves stink. Like, this chew's nasty, right?
Like a skunk.
So I go take it to my mom and give it to her. And of course, nothing was ever said about it. I don't remember anything ever happening or coming of it from that. In my mind, it must have just been the tobacco. And then, fast forward to my very first concert.
It's the wacky one, the wacky tobacco
experience. And all of a sudden, I smelled that smell again.
See?
And then it hit me. Oh, Uncle Tex was a weed head.
You should do like a series of interviews where you just ask people what the first time they smelled weed but didn't know it.
That would be a great segment.
Right?
That would be.
It's just okay, tell me the first time you ever smelled weed that you didn't know it was weed, and then the second time as an adult, you know, as a sort of adult.
When you put that connection together.
Yeah, no, it's good. Anyway, I should get back to SHRUM.
Yes, let's talk about that. I'm sorry, we chase squirrels here, like I said.
It's all good. So yeah, last year we basically started working with actually the team at Advanced Nutrients about this, but basically we developed SHRUM, and so SHRUM is a grow your own mushroom kit. It's an all-in-one mushroom bag. The only thing it's missing is the genetics. So this is a completely white market product in all 50 states. You can get it, and literally inside is a little instruction guide about how to grow. It's got a Mylar bag with a dry pack for putting your mushrooms in after they're dry, and then it's got this little. It's vacuum sealed. So this is basically, it's literally just millet, cocoa coir, vermiculite, worm castings, oyster shells. There's a couple other things, gypsum.
Everything we put you would everything. Have to package if you were going to do it from scratch.
Exactly. Like if you were to grow your own mushrooms, you'd be taking a big bag of millet, and you'd be injecting, your liquid culture, your spore into it, and then you'd have to, make get that to grow. That to spawn, colonize. You take your spawn, you colonize it, you mix it with your substrate, you put it in a tub, all that. This makes it super easy because this is everything you need. This is a tub in a bag. And so what it is it's got this bag, this is about 2 pounds, and this is millet, this is the cocoa coir, vermiculite, blah, 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 all those ingredients. And then what we've done is we have sterilized it, we double sterilized it, and then we have vacuumed.
That's the hard part, because that involves pressure cookers and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
I know, I've been through this.
And then what you do is then it's been vacuum sealed to preserve freshness. It lasts up to 6 months. We've actually tested it to like 10 months, but we guarantee it up to 6 months for off-store shelves. But the idea is
you were saying also about your testing that all your testing is done.
Oh yeah.
Coast to coast,
I'll get to that in 1 second. So what you do basically is you take this bag. There's 3 simple steps. So you got simple grains, simple dirt in a simple bag, and this bag, just so you know, for the people who are interested, it has these filter strips on it. These are 0.2 micron filter strips. So they basically let in the oxygen that your mushrooms need. They let out the CO2 that your mushrooms are giving off, and they don't allow bacteria or mold to get in. So this is sterilized, and it stays sterile. This is a fortress to avoid contamination. And then all you have to do,
it's done for you. You don't even have to think about it.
So this is totally idiot proof. Wow. The idea is you just get your liquid culture, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, but you get your liquid culture, and you're going to just take your liquid culture, inject it right into the bag. There's a self-healing injection for it. You inject it into the bag, you stir it around. We give directions.
Go back to that again. It's a self-healing injection port?
Yeah. So basically like you inject it in, and then it'll close itself as you pull out the needle. And so, right? And then what you do is
motherfuckers have thought of everything.
Exactly. But then what it does is you literally, all you have to do is literally inject, wait, and harvest. In about 6 to 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, you will have mushrooms. We do have a couple of extra directives you want to like, if you want to maximize your grow, there's little tricks like as you watch basically. The mycelium, which is the roots of the mushroom, the vegetative growth of the mushroom. What happens is the mycelium, the white block, will get it'll turn into a white block. And so when you get to about a third to halfway colonized, we actually recommend massaging the bag and breaking up the mycelium and then flattening back together. And the idea is that it helps it grow more evenly across. Yeah, it mixes it all in, helps the spread. It speeds up the spread, and it also it just basically makes it more even. Then you press it down again, and then you literally just like let it sit again, and you're in about 6 weeks. I like to say between 6 and 8, because I find that I get my pinning at like 5 weeks or so, and they're usually ready to harvest at 6 or 7. But you will get about, and it depends on your varietal, depends on your genetics, but you're looking at about 10 to 20 grams dried. So you're just gonna like pluck them out. All you do is cut up the top. You just pluck out your mushrooms. You dehydrate them. You can buy a dehydrator. Whatever you want.
I like that you tell, this is how many grams dried you're going to get from this.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people, this is something that I've gone through. Yeah. Well, how fucking many of these are we going to get?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. And it's a guess. And then when you've got it really going, like when I lived in Austin, Texas, I was growing in the pressure cooker route in the aquarium. Yeah. And we got a shit ton. Yeah. And then I moved here, and I've grown since I've been here, and we use the cakes. Yeah. And I mean, we're looking at maybe 5 to 10 grams from a cake, and it's the climate.
Yeah, it's dry. I mean, honestly, because here in Vegas, like these bags are an ecosystem in themselves. They shouldn't. Mushrooms are like us. They like they actually like more humidity than I do. But mushrooms want to be at about our temperatures that we're comfortable in. So we always say 73, and then kind of give or take 5 degrees in either direction is going to be fine. But your mushrooms are most comfortable at the temperatures that you like. And then what we recommend is you don't need to hydrate it. It technically has moisture in the bag.
Is stuck in there that needs to be in there.
In a dry environment like Vegas or let's say Arizona, what I might say that if you have a humidifier in the same room to kind of reduce the potential like drying effects of the environment, that would be good, but it's not necessary. Oh wow. But I would
definitely help the situation out.
Here's the thing, your mushrooms are 90% water, and so the more moisture in the air, the better.
15 to 20 dried grams. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's 4 to 5 transcendental doses. Yeah. I mean, it's averaging about half an ounce.
Question for you real quick, because I know, and this is something that not a lot of people talk about, and not a lot of people know about. I found out the hard way about this the first time, myself personally. Flushes. Mm-hmm.
So we guarantee the one harvest, and we guarantee, because at the end of the day, once you cut open this bag, you might fuck it up.
Oh, and totally. No, I understand. And that's what I was going to say is, how do you get this out then without destroying the bag?
So so what you do is basically when you're ready to harvest, you're going to take your bag, you're going to cut open the top, you're going to stick your hand in and grab your mushrooms. Then you could just throw the bag away. But if you want a second harvest, then there's a couple of steps. Okay. So you're still going to want to, like, most people don't have a still air box or a flow hood or any of these things that are going to create a completely sterile environment. So your next bet
is... You can make things like that, though. I've done it.
Yes. And but the thing is, like, most people aren't going to go...
I'm saying that for my audience more than anything.
But what I would say is you can try to do it from the comfort and safety of your own home without all of this,
you just have to watch
extras.
out for discoloration and such.
Yeah, there's a couple tricks. First off, if you get isopropyl alcohol and or even just hand sanitizer, and you sanitize your arm that's going to go in the bag, right? So you're going to cut open the top. Now there's little environmental things, like you don't want fans blowing because that could get spores into your bag. Right, so you want to be in like a still environment, as clean as you can make it. You're going to want to sterilize your arm. You're going to want to preferably wear gloves or make sure that you hand sanitized your hand, right? You're going to not want to breathe in the bag. You're going to want to reach in really quickly, get your mushrooms, and then you need to seal up the bag as quickly as possible. Now, we are going to be doing a replenish kit that's coming out in the future, and so that's, again, no guarantees, but here's how you do it. And it's going to be a mixture of water and like amino acids and things that are good for your mushrooms for a second harvest. But in the meantime, what you can do, let's say you do this and we haven't gotten that kit out, what you'll do is you'll cut open, you'll be totally clean as you can, you'll pluck your mushrooms, and then if you take just a bottle of water, like you want to basically, I'd say
like a bottle of water, like a bottle,
but like one that hasn't been opened, so it's totally clean and sterile, right? And you're going to want to pour in some water. Honestly, go for it. There are so many arguments on like mushroom forums about whether or not the things that are in our water might actually be good for it. Like sometimes water, tap water contains things like
that's why I'm asking that, because nature's not going to fucking make distilled water and you little mushrooms get this. It's
so whatever. Honestly, I think like your natural spring or your whatever, it should all be fine. Like cool. I don't know. There's arguments about what maximizes your grow. I actually use hydrogen peroxide. Because hydrogen peroxide will turn into water, but in the meantime, it's going to kill any bacteria that got in there.
I got you.
So that's what I use. So if you got a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, you're going to want to put like between 60 and 100 milliliters in there. Okay. And then so the replenish kit we're going to have is actually going to be a syringe that you can inject right into the cake. But you'll want to like pour until that's available. Just pour it in and then immediately close up the bag, and then you're going to wait like a week or two and get yourself some more mushrooms, provided that you didn't fuck it up.
Okay, you're all provided that you didn't fuck it up.
Exactly.
That's the big important part right there. See, for me, this is what goes on in my mind. This is what I'm thinking. I'm going to get one of these.
Yeah.
And how many flushes can you get out of this, roughly?
I mean,
I've
gotten like 3 out of it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The most I ever got was 5. Now,
but then your tote strikes out.
Well, here's what happened.
Yeah.
So we got the first flush. I want to say it was like, this was in the aquarium. This was like 40. We got like 40 little ones.
Yep.
Nothing major, right? I tried them. They were excellent. I tripped my balls off. Off of just a gram. I just took a gram.
Yep.
And because that's what I was trying to gauge it with, because that's what most everybody was buying and purchasing at the time.
Yeah.
And then so the second flush comes along, and we got like probably almost 100, over 100 of them at that point. And they were a little stronger. Of course, I tried those as well, just to see what was going on. Just a gram. And then the third flush came along, and that one was a motherfucker. What the fuck is this alien life form?
I would get these giant mushrooms out of my second and third.
150.
Nice.
Different ones.
Do you know the weight?
They were bigger. At this. I do not. I don't remember
weigh all mine.
I did, because a lot of them were sold.
Yeah.
But then we were eating them. Me and my girl were eating them a lot, so it was just one of those things where I couldn't tell you exactly what we had going on here.
It's all good.
And it was the first time we were doing this too. Afterwards, there was some groups that we did, but I don't think we ever got as many as we did that first time.
Right.
It was just perfect conditions or something. So we get the fourth flush, and it was like probably maybe 20, 25, but they were really fucking big.
Yeah.
And then like the fifth flush comes along. Magically, there was a fifth flush. I'm just telling my girl, like, just leave that shit. Let's see what happens, Another one pops up. This motherfucker was probably about that tall. The cap was every bit of that big.
That's fucking awesome.
We put it in a big old fucking pot with some green tea and boiled it up.
Yep.
And 4 of us, we split that fucking tea 4 ways and we drank it. And it was so fucking harsh. That was the last harsh trip I've done. I microdose now at this point.
Yeah.
I'm very careful about what I do at this point.
Right.
That trip hurt.
Yeah.
It was very scary. I want to say probably about 8 to 9 minutes into drinking
the tea, you just started tripping.
It felt like caterpillars were going on my lip. and I looked over at my buddy.
God, I hate bug things with
Right. And I'm sitting here doing this, and I look over at my buddy, and he's sitting right next to me, right? And he's like this.
Oh no.
Bro, do you feel like caterpillars are on your lip too? How the fuck did you know that?
Oh my goodness.
And then like we both look over at his girl, and she's sitting over there on the couch. I don't know what it was, but it hit all of us the same way. It was like
the caterpillar mustache, T.
The fucking caterpillar mustache. You're never gonna forget that now. Okay, I know this shit's kicking in because I'm getting a caterpillar mustache.
Oh my god. That's hilarious.
But this shit was like, you know how when you trip, a fucking trip will go off, and then you'll go up for a while, and then it just fucking hits about 30,000 feet, and it levels out.
Yeah.
This motherfucker never stopped. It was the fucking 6-hour trip.
Yeah.
A peak.
Yeah.
It was one fucking solid peak. And then it just fucking ended. My girl hid under the covers for fucking, I want to say like 8 hours.
I've been there.
And all, like I would walk into the room, it's pitch fucking black in there. She's under the covers. And all you hear is every 5 or 10 minutes, and it would be silence again. And I had this circle that I was making around the house of things.
Yeah.
Go outside. This was like December whenever we did this. Go outside because we didn't smoke in the house. Go smoke on the back patio. Hang out there until you can't stand it because it's so fucking cold.
Right.
Come back in the house. Sit down at the table till you can't stand the fucking light no more.
Oh my God.
Move over into the kitchen where it's a little darker.
Right.
Hang out in there until the kitchen is too fucking white and you can't be in there no more. Make it over to the couch until you need another cigarette. This shit went on for 8 goddamn hours.
Oh my God.
It was the craziest experience I ever had.
And this is why you don't do drugs, kids.
No, this is why you have
Trip Sister.
Your Trip Sister.
Well, and that's the thing, though, is actually, this is a funny thing to me, because, like, right now there's all this talk about medicinal psychedelic use, and I'm all about that. Like, medicinal is great, and it's so many, we're looking at depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD. These things are all being handled, being like, managed by or cured by the use of psychedelics. But what's fascinating is, like, how many people out there in the world went to take a recreational dose of your acid or your shrooms, and they go to take a recreational dose. They are like, I'm gonna go have some fun with my friends, and you take a little bit too much, and you're like, oh my God, I am crying about this thing that happened to me, and then you get through it, right? And the amount of times that a recreational trip becomes a medicinal trip, it becomes a therapeutic trip, it becomes this trip in which you actually find that, oh my God, like, I've been getting in my own way regarding my romantic relationships or my career or whatever else, and you just work out your shit, and you didn't mean to. And that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people don't realize is, like, you can go to have fun, and sometimes you'll have fun, and sometimes you'll be like, I am sitting on the floor crying about a dog that died when I was 6. But, like, I never really processed that because my parents didn't let me see the body. You know what I mean?
I was about to say, yes. It just wasn't something that was processed properly.
Yeah.
It's very true. This is the most cathartic thing that happened to me with mushrooms, and I'm about to release this, actually. I have several different music projects. I have a country project, I have an industrial project, and I also have a hip-hop thing that I'm starting to do.
Cool.
That's my midlife crisis. I wanted to become a hip-hop artist. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But anyway, it was 2011. It was right after Halloween, 2011.
Yep.
I had an extra gram of mushrooms that I had gone to a party and I didn't take. They'd given me like 3 or 4 grams that night. I took whatever and went about my business, but I didn't take all of them.
Right.
So I found this, and I just put them in my studio up on the desk and left them in there.
Right.
At some point, it was like beginning of November, because I remember just moving into this house, and it was a 2-story thing. And pretty much, my girl was pregnant at the time, so she didn't go up in the top half. She just stayed down in the bottom.
Gotcha.
So I kind of had the top half, which was 5 bedrooms, for a recording studio.
Oh, nice.
And I had amps strung in every fucking bedroom. I had cords running to all of them. It was the most craziest fucking spaceship-looking thing control center thing you've ever seen in your life.
That's cool.
And I take this fucking gram of mushrooms, and I was like, I'm going to record an album tonight. And the first thing that popped into my head was to sit down at the piano.
Okay.
And I waited. It was probably about 30, 45 minutes. They were kicking in. The ego was starting to drop out. I played 7 pieces of music on the piano and recorded them. And I went back and listened to them the next day, and it was like, wow, that's fucking weird. But oddly enough, there was no ego for this, and I feel oddly good about it. I'm about to release it.
That's really cool.
I took those 7 pieces and put them into other songs.
Okay.
So I'm going to release the album of just them by themselves, and then I'm going to release another album that's got all the instrumental bullshit going on with it.
That's awesome.
But that album came about 100% just sitting down. At that point in my life and my career of recording, I would record a lot of shit, and a lot of it got deleted.
Right.
I would not keep anything. I would record things and just be like, you know what, that's not good enough. I would just turn shit off.
Right.
Not saving it or anything. That was the turning point for me to where I was like, you know what? I've been stupid about this. I've been doing this wrong. I learned from that.
Yeah.
It was amazing to me how the ego completely disappeared, and I didn't judge what I was doing on the mushrooms.
Right.
And when I went back in and listened to it the next day, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool for what it is, you know? I mean, nobody else would probably release an album that they recorded while they were tripping on mushrooms, except for me.
I'm sure someone has.
Probably.
The Beatles?
The Beatles. I'm sure. Have you ever heard of Bruce Hatt?
No.
We'll look up Bruce Hatt.
Okay. The Beach Boys.
He
See, I'm taking the big names.
Right.
Oh, okay,
Bruce Hatt
but
was a
all
little
of
weird.
all of the Rolling Stones, you know that Keith
God.
Richards was on the shrooms all the time, right?
God.
Or all the things, right?
That
Sorry.
guy was on everything at the same time. He did enough drugs for the whole entire band.
Exactly.
Plus.
He's gonna outlive all of us. The world is gonna be populated by like Keith Richards and Betty White, and they're just gonna, it's gonna be a wonderful world. It'll be a beautiful world, but we're all gonna die in a nuclear accident, and they're gonna be alive somehow.
Yeah.
Cockroaches.
Cockroaches.
That's right.
They bleed green blood or something crazy like that.
Ew.
Yeah, it happens. You ever blown a cockroach up, squatted it on the floor or anything, and it popped out green shit? See, that's the wakey bakey. I'll take it there.
So gross.
It's disgusting. I'm not gonna lie.
I have a visceral bug thing.
One time, it was electric blue.
Ew.
I wasn't tripping whenever this happened. It bled electric blue shit. And I thought to myself, that's why those motherfuckers are gonna last through the fucking Holocaust.
Wow, yeah. So, ugh.
I'm sure people have done like studies and
research. I'm the kind of fucking nerd that I'm like, what else has green blood? Oh, Vulcans.
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true.
That's me.
It's okay. You got to process these things,
that's right,
and you're like, wait a second, I know the answer to this one. All right, let's get back on track with this. Do you have any more to tell me about this?
Well,
because I really want people. I think the people who watch my podcast are going to be the people who are going to be talking to you. So do some plugs real quick.
So the timeline on this, just so you know, is we released this at the end of June. So this literally at the end of June, we actually got it out, like it was ready to go out to stores. And then we partnered with Advanced Nutrients as our distributor, and they distribute to hydro stores. So we got a bunch of orders to hydro stores. The hydro stores mostly just help growers for weed, and so we're looking to reach the end user consumer, right? And here at Champs, it's been great because we're meeting head shops and smoke shops, and that's
part of the process of getting this in, just
so
like Chad as well.
So Chad over at C2C, what's great about C2C Mycology is, like, one, they have incredibly wonderful premium genetic isolations of fantastic varietals, and I have actually tested all of their varietals in these bags.
Beautiful.
So I know they work fantastically.
Beautiful.
And so, like, I love them. People should be getting their genetics from C2C Mycology. They should be getting their bags from Advanced Mycology. And the entire thing is, you
guys are like a partnership together.
A bit, yes. I mean,
cool.
And that's the thing. Is like you work in synchronicity with
that
other people,
right.
but like,
yes, that's exactly right.
But we're friends, and we're doing this, and we're it's a rising tide, the here's all
that. You've got your hand at
that.
their back, and they've got their hand at your back, and everybody goes up together.
So the entire notion of this here is for those who are listening and interested. We're hoping to have these in a smoke shop and head shop near you, but we are also going to be on advancedmyco.com. That's MYCO, obviously. advancedmyco.com. Also check out our socials, at Advanced Myco, and come see me at Your Trip Sister, and I will, send you that way.
Nice.
But the whole idea is,
post all of this stuff up on.
So these kits are typically $50 retail. So $50 retail, you get those genetics for about $30. $80, and you're ending up with about 4 grams for 4 eighths. Half an ounce of mushrooms. Sorry, I'm always thinking in eighths because that's how I take it.
Right.
But yeah, so the entire idea is I want to be I want to create decentralized access to mushrooms. I don't want you to be dependent on a grower or a dealer. I want you to be able to control what you're growing, how you grew it.
That's
you know,
badass. You know exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
You don't have to question anything or have that panic attack of what the fuck did I just take?
You know, these are grown with love and intention. I mean, I don't get
Yes.
into all the hippie woo shit, but these are grown yourself. You know, this kind of love and attention that's brought into it by your own experience in this process, and you watch them grow, and then you get to enjoy them, and it just feels so, you know.
That's fucking cool.
It's just an experience. You know, grow yourself, grow your mushrooms, grow you. You know.
That is self-sustaining.
Exactly.
Self-sustaining is the way to go. We're all about to find out about self-sustaining,
Exactly.
I think.
Exactly.
I just did an interview yesterday with the We the People. That's probably when you were coming by.
Yeah.
That guy went fucking off, man. Wow.
I came by twice and you were still talking to him.
Yes, he was going off so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And he was just, I mean, everything he was saying, he could back up. He had fucking knowledge for it and everything. But, oh man, it was so nuts. This hands down right here is a game changer for
Absolutely.
sure. The things he was talking about yesterday, we're all about to find out about how self-sustaining we're going to become.
Right.
And this right here ties in with everything else.
Exactly.
You don't have to be dependent upon somebody else to get, where am I going to find this from?
Yeah.
And something that's going to be good and safe as well, because that's a big thing. A lot of people don't give a fuck nowadays, and it's pure garbage and pure trash.
Yeah.
What I like about you guys, and this is something that Chad spoke of earlier, if you're 55 years old and somebody's coming to you for the first time talking about microdosing, you have no fucking clue how to do this, how to get into it, and it's going to be probably a lot harder for you than it is for anybody else, and you're probably going to have a lot less success in your microdosing because you're going to be getting shit from people who probably really don't care at first. And now eventually, if you stick with it long enough, you're going to find out what's going on, but how long does that take, you know? That's where this comes in really handy, because not only can they go talk to you and figure out how they're going to do this, but this is really, it's very simplified.
Yeah, it's simple. It puts it in their own hands. You know, at the end of the day, I've had this incredible advantage in my life of being, you know, with my connected parents who you know, were open about drug use, right? And you know, like, we're in a world where this stuff is illegal, right? That's a fun little emergency. I bet all the smoke in here is making things go off. Shall we let that go for a second?
Oh, they're just testing the alerts.
Yeah, no, they're actually not testing. It's probably that, like, a bunch of smoke set off a thing, but they don't want us to all run out of the building at once. It's hilarious. But yeah, so hopefully that doesn't interrupt us too. Wow, that is going to be awful.
I don't care.
Anyway,
just,
but
it's champs.
I know.
Everything is beyond our control
right,
at this point.
Right. What can I control?
Keep on talking.
I can just put my mouth closer to the mic. But yeah, so
and in editing, I can do magic.
Right, but no, the entire idea is that, you know, I've been blessed with a community, you know, and I'm, you know, I go to Burning Man. I've got, like, this great community, so it's really easy for me to get the drugs I want, regardless of their legality. Right. But so many people out there in the world don't have that access. They don't have their community, and you know, and it's, you know, in an illegal state, you have this you know, there's a paranoia and a fear because the state has created this fear, of course. And so, you know, what can you do? And here you can go online and you can learn about this, and then you can grow this yourself, and you don't have to be connected to a community, because I'd love for everyone to get connected to a community, but we can't. But we need to reach the people who are far removed from that community. We need to be able to reach, you know, the grandma who's, you know, struggling with depression because her husband died, and she finds that taking those mushrooms reminds her of, you know, what her life has meaning about, and what, you know, and the what she created, you know, and it's very true. And I think I think older people could benefit from taking psychedelics. I think that younger people can. I think, you know, I just want to make sure that everyone can. And I mean, I'm lobbying the government. I am fighting for decriminalization. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to wait for the government. I am here to make sure that you can subvert the government however the fuck you want, because I love that. I don't give a shit. You know, the government wants to come after people for doing for victimless crimes, for non-violent, completely, like, non-problematic things. Oh, they want to get high. They want to, like, fuck the government. And I'm so glad to see so many people recognizing that. You know,
it comes down to a lot of people, and this is the older way. We don't have this a lot anymore, thank God. But it's older people wanting to put their values on everybody else. Yeah. And you can't fucking live that way. Yeah. That was the biggest eye-opener for me, in the church
Yeah.
when I was a kid. You motherfuckers don't want anybody to tell you how to live.
Yeah.
You just want to be able to control and tell everybody else how to live. That's what I equated religion with.
Yeah.
It's a form of slavery.
And here's the thing, as I said, the only thing you can control in this world is yourself, right? So if you want people to adopt the values that you hold, then you need to represent those values well, and you need to show something good out of them, right? So if I value, what do I value? Do I value, if I value efficiency and happiness and self-actualization, then I need to participate in those things myself and then show people a better way. You can't just convert people. You can't force people. You have to persuade people by showing them that this is good for you too. And so if you want them to believe in God, or you want them to, or to obey the ideas of what if you think this is the best practice for your life, to not consume something, or to make these choices about, your lifestyle, right? You need to just show that, not tell them, but show that.
Right.
And
that is very true.
And recognize that other people are going to have different opinions about what they want to happen in their lives.
Yep.
And just, be the best that you can be, and be an inspiration to others. And if you're not willing,
it's a beautiful way to look at things.
If you have to use force instead of inspiration, well, fuck you.
Right. I agree 100%. It's, as I get older, I think about the baby boomer generation. Those motherfuckers wouldn't be tolerating the shit that's going on nowadays at all. Completely. And it's a lot of their age group that is exactly doing the shit that's going on right now. What the fuck?
Yeah,
But the good thing about it is that's going out.
Yeah.
And there's a future that's coming up.
Yeah.
The
wave is tie-dye.
Exactly. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I'd much rather go on that route than to go the route that we've been going down.
Yeah.
At least I'd much rather have the unknown than to go with, oh, well, okay.
I am profoundly optimistic about the future, not just because I think that the future's in my hands and I think it's in everybody's hands, but I just have this belief that human beings we're capable of tremendous, incredible things, and it's time we remind ourselves of that all the time.
Yes.
And then when you take, access to psychedelics or access to the components of ourselves that can help us reduce our own limitations on, like whether there's psychological limitations or whatever else,
that's
the
true.
more that we work as a species to be changing ourselves and our capabilities. And I mean, like, technology is increasing at phenomenal rates.
You are absolutely correct about that.
We got fucking billionaires fighting over who gets to go to Mars first. Like, it's an amazing world. And I mean, people will look, oh, there's people starving out there. But also the global poverty rate has been decreasing massively for the entirety of human history. Like, there's nothing to, I mean, there are perfectly, like, there are crappy things out there in the world. We have to deal with them, like, let's keep filming cops and, Breonna Taylor. Like, let's have that conversation about shitty things that are happening out there. But at the end of the day, I think that, we're seeing more and more decentralized empowering of individuals who are going to take the world, take their future into their own hands. And that's beautiful and positive. And I'm so looking forward to it.
There's a new download. And I'm guilty of this too. I bitch about the younger generation as well, but at the same time, you know what? My generation was fucked up when we were young, and we did stupid fucking shit too. And I think a lot of the people my age, I'm not going to say all of them, but I think a lot of them figured out, hold up, there's a better fucking way to go about this. We didn't have all the answers all the time, but we figured out. Every generation does. Is my point. At the end of the day, when you're young, you do dumb shit. Everybody that's older is going to judge the fuck out of you because that's just how it fucking goes. Nobody wants to remember about when they were young. That's the thing that I try to keep in my mind as I've gotten older, and I've gotten older. I'm 49 now. Even with my kids, I remember what it was like to be young. A lot of people, once they grow up, they forget that shit. You can't. That's what's badass with this.
That's right.
I feel like it helps keep you young.
Unlock
mentally.
the child inside.
That's right.
There you go.
That's very true. Man, I can't wait to I gotta get this going myself.
Well,
I'm really excited.
Let's chat after this. Maybe maybe you can take one with you.
Oh, sweet.
Let's see.
That would be badass.
I have no idea if we have more stock, so please don't quote.
No. I'm not gonna hold you to that.
Hold me to that.
But I hope definitely it works out that way.
Yeah.
It'd be badass.
Otherwise, we'll get in contact. You'll get one soon.
Sweet.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up unless there's anything else that you have to tell.
No, just, everybody come check out Advanced Myco. Check out your Trip Sister.
Plug it all.
That's right. And at the end of the day, treat yourself. Wait. Be excellent to each other, guys. Be excellent to each other.
I like that.
Be excellent to yourself. And be excellent to each other.
Badass interview and a badass way to end here at Champs.
Thank you guys.
For coming
Thank you.
And I definitely would like to have you on again when we don't have all the chaos and we can sit down and...
No sirens in the background.
Exactly. No crazy booming voices over the loudspeaker. That's the voice of control and fear right there, by the way, too.
Exactly.
I love the monotoneness of it, but that is the voice of control and fear. All right, guys, thank you for hanging out and checking this out, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bakey Podcast is sponsored by Jerome Baker Designs and the number 3.